Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Between the Frames. I'm so happy to have you here, and really this is now or never because I literally need to go get on a client call in like 25 minutes. So I'm cutting it kind of close here, but I know this is going to be a shorter episode today. Today we are talking about prompting versus posing. So my kind of workshop title for this episode is Stop Posing, Start Prompting. And this is all about what to say when you don't know what to say, okay? So I know there's a lot going through your head when you're at a session. And if you are new to photography, you just started your business, then posing is probably still really challenging for you. And I think this episode is going to help you really unwrap that when you think more about prompting. So this episode did spin out of episode 2, where I was talking about 10 things you actually need to start a photography business. One of those things I mentioned was posing and being comfortable with that, because obviously you have these people in front of you at your session and you need to configure them or have them interact in a way that is going to look good on camera. So we are going to dive into that shortly. I do just want to talk a little bit about myself, if that's okay. I don't know. If you do not really want to get to know me as a host, that is totally fine. I will add some timestamps into the show notes. But when I listen to podcasts, I do love a little bit of an intro from the host. So that is something that I am trying to incorporate into my podcast as well. So just real quick, couple of personal things that are going on in my life right now. I'm a mom, so I'm going to keep it very real in case you don't know that already about me. I'm a mom. I was born back in the 80s, so you do the math as to my age. Today, I'm currently suffering with some allergies. I went on a walk yesterday, and this is really strange. Literally, I don't think I've ever had allergies in my entire life. And since having kids, all these things are just like changing in my body. My hair used to be dead straight, and now it's got this weird little crimpy curl to it. So apparently I also have allergies now. I was on a walk yesterday. There's all these like pretty white fluffy things flying through the air, and I whipped my phone out and was like, oh, let me try and take pictures or videos, so pretty. And then literally in the middle of the night last night, one of my eyes just completely started watering so bad that I was like actually in pain. I had to get up, rinse it out, get a cold compress to put on my eye. It was terrible. Anyway, so that's one thing that's going on in my life right now. So if you can see some bloodshot eyes, that is the reality of my life. In addition to that, yes, I was up in the night after that with my 3-year-old son. So I don't know. I'm in my era where I'm just like, okay, life is hard. I'm tired all the time. There is literally no good time to start the work, to do the things. So that's why I got started with this podcast, because I was like, there is never going to be a good time. There is no such thing as the perfect time. I just need to start. What else? Let's see. I have actually done my hair today. I took a shower. I washed my hair. I know, shocker. This is not typical. But it is my husband's birthday today, and we're going to go out later tonight for dinner. And I just thought, well, you know what? I need to record a podcast. And since I also put these on YouTube, so I record them as a video, why not get ahead of it, get myself looking good, and then get on camera? So this is not the usual look, right? Usually I'm in sweats. My hair is in that messy bun, and I have no makeup on whatsoever. Today I got like a little bit of tinted moisturizer. Truthfully, I do not like to wear a lot of makeup, but I do think tinted moisturizer is so helpful in making my skin just look a little bit dewy. So yes, I am trying to embrace a slightly less disheveled look today. That's where we're going. All right, so what else? I don't think there's really anything else going on. Oh, except for 2 birthday parties this weekend and my husband's birthday tonight. So yeah, there's a lot of mom stuff going on. Whew. And as you could probably tell, I'm still pretty new to recording podcasts, doing all the podcast stuff right now. I'm finding it incredibly time consuming. So if you're listening and you've had a podcast yourself in the past, or you have any tips or insights or helpful feedback, feel free to let me know, because I am new here. I'm learning. I'm doing the hard thing. So yes, go easy on me. It's basically what I'm saying. All right, let's dive into things, because I know you guys are here for some helpful tips about photography, not just to listen to me rant about my mom life. Okay, so first off, we are going to talk about the difference between posing and prompting. So posing, when you're thinking about posing, I like to think we're really talking about where we're placing people, what their bodies look like, and you're being really intentional and deliberate with that. And then when we're prompting, we're giving people directions so that we can create a condition where something real develops from that. So I think I really started my photography business leaning into posing, because I didn't really understand prompting at that point. And I don't know, I would look at Pinterest and kind of have an idea in my head. And then I would think, okay, well, I've just got to position people in that way. But that's really hard when you are working with families. And if you don't know that about me, I primarily shoot families and couples, but a lot of families. And my style is definitely more lifestyle driven. So I quickly discovered that posing was kind of hard with families, because if you think about it, little kids, they don't really like to listen to directions. And it just, I don't know, it's not really the vibe I'm going for. It looks very forced, or they can look very forced and very stiff. So that's why I think if you are struggling right now with posing, then prompting is going to be really helpful for you. So when we're prompting, we're not really necessarily thinking about how all these bodies look together. Instead, we're thinking about their relationship and their connection with each other. So yeah, I think it's helpful to acknowledge as well that with that, we are getting more real life imagery. So if you are someone who is looking for more of a storytelling approach to your photography, which I love, and I think people are loving that more too, because it sort of takes the pressure off, and it also documents exactly how those people are in that moment, so that when they look back on it, it truly does feel more like a memory than a staged kind of pose. Lost my train of thought. So yeah, we're looking to guide our clients into some natural interaction, to provide them with just really beautiful imagery that is less about being perfect. There we go. I came full circle eventually. So typically, your prompts are not necessarily always going to generate exactly what you're picturing in your mind's eye, because everybody interprets your directions and what you're telling them to do in slightly different ways. But I would encourage you to be ready with those prompts, to deliver those prompts, and then to just kind of sit back and watch. So you're not really talking to your clients the entire time. Yes, I do think it's important to continue to be their cheerleader and tell them they look beautiful and everything, but I think what we're looking for here is to help your clients be so comfortable in front of the camera that they almost forget you're there. So if you're constantly prompting, talking, I don't know, I just think that detracts a little bit from their experience and can become quite overwhelming for the client as well. So yeah, that's something I'm always looking to do when I provide a prompt. I'll just kind of let it land and see what unfolds. So just be ready for that, because I think some people are so wanting to capture something very specific that they already see in their mind's eye, but often those in-between moments are actually what you want to be capturing. So that's just like a little extra that I wanted to throw out there. So I'm going to talk about a couple of different things just to give you an idea of the structure of this episode. I'm going to talk about prompts for kids for encouraging their cooperation, because I'm specifically thinking about family sessions today. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about prompts that encourage connection. And then I will just also dive in a little bit onto how prompts can often just completely flop. That's normal. That's natural. Just go with the flow. Don't stress about it. But yeah, we'll talk about that and specific ones that flop, why maybe they're failing in the first place, and just so you can figure out and not just be like, well, that prompt didn't work. Maybe it just would land slightly better if it was delivered differently or if it came at a different part of the session. So that's kind of the loose structure of today's podcast. And I am hoping to keep this one a little bit shorter than my other podcasts, because like I said, I have a little bit of a time deadline today. Okay, so I think with family sessions, if you are not currently a family photographer, but you're wanting to get into that space, but maybe it feels a little bit overwhelming, or maybe you are a family photographer already, but you are just finding yourself in a spot where you're struggling a little bit, or you're just kind of leaving your sessions feeling, let's say, a little lackluster, like maybe everything kind of fell apart a little bit. First off, I will say family sessions are very energetic. They require a lot from you as a person, and they are going to feel chaotic. I actually tell my clients that it's really normal for the session to feel chaotic. I actually think that's a great way for you to kind of prep your clients with their expectations. And I wouldn't necessarily do this, weeks in advance. You can do this 5 minutes before the session starts. Just kind of have a quick chat with them, remind them that it's okay if the kids are crying, if someone needs a little bit of time out, it's totally fine. What we're trying to capture, if you are a lifestyle or storyteller photographer, is the connection, all right, and the moments. So nothing has to be picture perfect. Yes, we will capture moments where everybody is looking and smiling at the camera. I think it's still important to include a handful of those, maybe like 3 to 5 opportunities of those. But the majority of the time, you actually want your clients to pretend you're not there, or actually something I like to tell my clients is just to pretend that I'm filming. So no matter what happens, just pretend that it's like a movie, like I am filming you. So if you can continue to be in the moment and to enjoy yourself, then it's going to come across wonderfully in the images, even if your toddler is having a little bit of a meltdown. If you are holding them in close to you, you cannot even see that. And I can always move around you in angles where you're not going to see that. So that is something that I like to just remind my clients of before our session starts. So we're not about getting perfect smiles, we're about getting the kids to engage. The other thing I do like to do at the beginning of a session is to try to engage with the children as well. the older kids can be a little easier sometimes. And something I do as well is, that sounds funny. Something I do is I will send out a client questionnaire so that I can get a little bit of insider information about the kids. Just that way I have some talking points. And then if we have really little kids, obviously I have young kids right now, so I'm kind of aware of how to interact with them. But when you have toddlers, maybe age 3 and under, so infants as well, just kind of be aware that those kids can be really shy. So I always try to make sure I get low, I get to their level. I try to ask them questions based on the talking points that their parents have provided with me. I'm sometimes, for example, I had a session the other night, and the kind of main goal of the session was to feature these poppies that were in this gorgeous meadow in front of the Flatirons. And so I already knew that was going to be like, we need to just focus on that as much as possible in the session. So I got down, I talked to the kid, and I said, hey, did you know there's some red flowers in this field? And he already knew. He was a super smart kid. I mean, I think he was 2.5, and he was big. He was like so well-spoken. It really blew my mind. I kept forgetting how old he was because my kiddo, who's 3, is a little peanut. He's tiny. And he's had speech delay. So he has been having speech therapy for the past year. So when I meet other kids like his age and their speech is incredible, I'm so blown away. Anyway, he immediately kind of rose to that challenge. And I didn't really need to say a lot more, but I just said, okay, we're going to go look for those flowers. Can you help me find them? Can you lead the way? And that was that. He was totally involved and wanted to be the leader. He was sold on the whole idea, let's just say. So get low to your kiddos, have some talking points, and then give them an activity or let them kind of take ownership of the session. Let them feel like they are in control, because toddlers really hate to be told what to do. But I'm just going to say that. That's the truth. I also recently tried to take solo portraits of my son for his birthday, and literally every prompt I used was followed by a no. So also just be prepared for that, okay? Like sometimes it just takes a while for kids to warm up to you. So don't be deflated, don't be discouraged, just roll with the punches. All right, so I'm gonna provide you with some fun little prompts for kids right now. This is a very short list. I may expand on this a little bit more. I am gonna do a separate episode that's more specific to posing, and I will weave in some prompts with that as well. But I wanted to give you guys just like a little taster of more to come. So here's a good one to get kiddos laughing. And this usually works with younger kids, but it's also a great way to get the child to look at their parent. So I will be asking the kid, does mommy have a booger on her face? Yes, I know. And that's the other thing, guys. You got to be prepared to be a bit silly, to be a bit embarrassing and cringy. Like, just own it, okay? If you are being silly and cringy, the kids are going to like that, all right? I'm just saying it now. So your session will go better. All right, so that one there will get a really genuine reaction. It might get a really great big smile from the child. Yes, your parent might look a little bit embarrassed, but most of the time they are kind of buying into everything you're saying as well. So they'll kind of play up on that as well. But yeah, it's just a really great way if the kiddo is not interacting with the parents at all, to just kind of get them to look back up at mom. And that can be a really sweet picture to capture there. All right, the next one, I love to make suggestions to kids that I know are wrong. Okay, so kids at this age, usually I'm talking about toddlers, because I feel like kind of between the ages of 2 to 4, maybe even up to 5, they are just really in a challenging stage. They are going to want to do pretty much anything but what you want them to do, okay? So one of the things, though, that does kind of get them to be more involved is they love to correct you at this age, okay? They are always thinking about what is right, what is wrong. And if you can give them an opportunity where they can tell you that you're wrong and they're right, oh, they're going to love you. So this question is, or you could pose it as a question, or you could say, I bet I can guess. And I kind of like that better. So I bet I can guess your favorite food. And then you can just go, let me see. I bet your favorite food is broccoli. And obviously, I don't know many 2 to 5-year-olds who love broccoli. Actually, my daughter, Madison, is kind of an outlier. She is really into broccoli for some reason. But she definitely wouldn't consider it her favorite food. So usually you're going to get 2 things here. One, you're probably going to get a great big smile from the kid because it's silly. That's a silly suggestion. And 2, they're going to want to correct you. They're going to want to tell you what their favorite food is. So you're immediately just starting a conversation with the child, which is great. That's what you want. So there's number 2. All right, number 3, I kind of like this one if you're trying to do something like maybe walking with the family. So you could have the family walking in a line across your frame, or you can have the family walking in a line towards you. But if you want them to have interaction between themselves rather than just kind of randomly looking different places or even at the camera, then something you can ask is you can say, who has the loudest farts? Or you could even pose it, okay, everybody, let's look at the person who has the loudest farts. And then maybe they'll look at dad, or maybe they all look at the youngest kiddo, whatever it might be. So that one's really funny. It usually gets everyone smiling at the same time. And yeah, it's just a great kind of candid opportunity there. I don't really think it needs any further explanation. A lot of these prompts really work in any scenario. But that one will work well, like I said, with a walking kind of movement direction. It would also work well if they were all grouped together on a blanket, let's say on the ground. That one could be really funny for that question too. So you have that closeness and then everyone's kind of looking at the same person in that moment. So those are kind of the 2 scenarios that I would use that one. And my next one will be number 4. Are we number 4 already? Yes, number 4. Oh my gosh, you guys, I did not get this podcast done in time for my phone call. So I just had to hit pause. So I'm coming back. We are on number 4. All right, here's my prompt for the kiddos. I like to ask them, where is their favorite place to go with mom? And then maybe where's their favorite place to go with dad? If they're a little bit older, you could also ask them a question about their favorite family vacation. I feel like those types of things are really memorable for children, and it kind of gets them out of feeling like they're performing right now and gets them into that thinking mode. So yeah, I think that's a great question. I will say it probably does work a little bit better with older kiddos, but honestly, you'll be surprised. Younger kiddos will come up with all sorts of things. I bet you if you asked my son where his favorite place is to go with mom or dad, he would probably say the grocery store. And also my daughter would probably say Target. Yeah, I don't know why, just kids love stores. I mean, I do know why, because there's lots of things to look at and stuff to touch. And I'm pretty sure I was the same way as a kid too. I loved going shopping. So it's not that strange. It's really not that strange. So that is a great question. Next one, number 5. What is your mom the best at? I think this is a fun question because you just never know where your kid's brain is going to go. You may get some really funny answers. For example, maybe the kid will say, Mom's the best at making sandwiches, or maybe they'll say, Mom's the best at bath time, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of some funny ones. Mom's the best at jumping. Who knows? You just never know where a kid's brain is going to go. So that could be a really fun question to ask about each of the parents to the kid and just kind of see what happens. And look for the reaction from the parents too. So don't just be focused on the child who's responding. Really do kind of look at how the parents are listening to their child in that moment, maybe even as the child is pausing to think about their answer. Look at mom and dad. Look at how they're looking at their child in anticipation, because those are going to be some really beautiful moments of anticipation. And then obviously look for the reaction as well. It's kind of like wedding photography, right? You know, when, I don't know, the best man speech is happening or just toasts are happening, you're not just taking pictures of the person who's giving the toast. You're looking around the room and seeing how everyone is responding to the delivery, to the speech, and capturing that, because that's where the magic is kind of happening. Okay, number 6. This one is a fun one for movement. So I do like to encourage a lot of movement in my sessions. I feel like that just, it helps with the storytelling component. It also helps to loosen your clients up a little bit, especially the kids. I think kids don't like sitting still for too long. So getting some energy out there is always helpful. So I will say something like, why don't we have a race? Let's see if you're faster than mom and dad. Let's see who can get to that tree over there first. And then once they've run to the tree, okay, you've captured them running away from you, then you can say, all right, and when you get to the tree, let's have you turn around and race back towards me. Or if you think they might still be a little bit apprehensive of you, you can point out another landmark, for example, a rock or whatever it might be, another tree, a bush, whatever it is. And then that way you can get some more action of them running towards you. I kind of love these shots because you can get the child more in focus and then the parents a little blurrier in the background. That just kind of adds a lot more depth to your images. And honestly, I think parents love those photos. Like my husband is, I don't know, when I show him my work and try to get an opinion from him, he would just say, yeah, it's a great photo. I mean, I don't know what I'm looking at. All your work is great. Like he truly cannot discern between a good photo and a great photo, let's say. But I will say, I think he has surprised himself in that he is learning that he actually likes imagery where it showcases how he is as a father and how he's interacting with his kids. So it's showcasing the emotion, the connection. He rarely will want us to put any of the portraits where we're smiling directly at the camera. He doesn't really want those in frames. He wants all of the candid imagery, and those ones where there's a lot of movement happening, he absolutely loves. So I think parents love it. Kids love it. It's an absolute winner. All right. So those were just a few ideas, guys. What did I give you? 6 ideas for prompts for children that should help just kind of coax them out of any potential shyness or any potential resistance to being involved in the session. So my next one is still really thinking about families. So I'm really just speaking to families throughout this whole episode, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about connection-based prompts. And I think these are the ones that have that potential to make parents a little bit teary. So that when they get their images back and they're looking at them, I think it's great to have these in the galleries just to a handful of images where, yeah, the parents are literally tearing up over them. Love it. So we are not necessarily trying to manufacture things too much. We still want that raw, real emotion. I don't want anything that you're producing to feel fake. So I think that can be hard at times when you are using prompts. You have to be invested in the prompt, all right? If you're not delivering it in the right way, it's not really going to land correctly, and it may come across as feeling a little bit disingenuous. And you also have to read your audience too. If you are in a really high energy moment, it's probably not going to be the right time for you to throw out a prompt in there that is going to be super emotional. Okay, so you have to think about placement with your prompts. Like, when does it feel like the right time? And I think you'll get better at that. But hopefully, if you're just an intuitive type of person, and I think probably as a photographer you can read your clients and just, understand the energy, read the energy, feel the moment, and decide when the prompts are going to land at their best and feel most natural. Okay, so I will say a lot of these too are probably great for when families are a little bit more connected. So I'm thinking maybe more like seated or laying down poses, or if they are really more tightly grouped together, maybe mom and dad are holding the kiddos and mom and dad are kind of leaning in close to each other, or potentially crouching down together. I do like to have parents crouch down so that they're kind of on the same level as their kids a lot of the time. So I think that's where these prompts are going to work best. And here is number 1. So I like to ask the kiddos to whisper their favorite animal into mom or dad's ear. You could also maybe ask them to whisper a silly word into their siblings' ear. So if you have slightly older kiddos and you're just kind of wanting to document that sibling connection, I think having them whisper something silly usually lands pretty well. It'll get some nice, cute little giggles and just show a really special bond between the two siblings. I love that whole setup, the whispering. It just creates such a kind of intimate exchange between the two people. And I think there you're really looking for the reaction of the child who's got their ear up close, who's listening. But I would also, again, just kind of look at the reaction of the parents too. I quite like to, often I will set up the children kind of in front of me, but I will have mom and dad maybe diagonally in the back of the frame. So they're still there, but they are going to be a very kind of soft blur. But make sure mom and dad are not kind of doing anything weird in the background. I have had that happen before where I don't know what they were doing, to be honest, but it just, the way that their bodies were together visually looked a little bit off. So maybe have mom sit on dad's lap, or at least have, maybe if they're sat next to each other on the ground, maybe have mom kind of lean her head onto dad's shoulder. Just think about how they're connected and how that is going to look visually in the back of your frame, even though you're focusing in on the children. Okay, that was number 1. Number 2, having a kiddo boop mommy's nose is a really good one. I do like to try to get kids to kind of touch noses with their parents, so going nose to nose. But sometimes they don't quite get that right away, or they're just not really willing to do that. I actually had that the other night. I mean, this toddler was so well behaved. He was incredible, such an awesome little boy. But he was still a toddler, right? I had to be constantly thinking of like ways that I could market what I wanted him to do so that he would do it. Okay. It was like, how am I going to market this to him? How am I selling this to him? Because his natural reaction was no. I'm not going to lie. So to kind of get that nose-to-nose interaction with mom or with dad, you might want to invite some playfulness first, and booping them on the nose is kind of fun, but also it looks great from a distance, especially if you're getting that perspective slightly from behind the child. It's almost like you're peering over their shoulder. So you're kind of really showcasing the parent a little bit more, which is beautiful because I guarantee you, parents do not have enough photos of themselves where they actually like the photos of themselves. And if you can get a genuine interaction of them and their child that really highlights how incredible they look, they're going to love it. They're going to be over the moon. So I love that angle. You can obviously also capture them from the front or side on. So if they're side on, but you are capturing that kind of front angle is great too. But that little kind of press of the finger on the nose can just look so sweet and endearing. Yeah, and then naturally from there you can progress once they are done with the playful booping on the nose. Say, you could ask them, does mommy like nose kisses? Or where's your nose? And then maybe say, can you rub your nose with mommy's nose? So just kind of think of ways like that to get that cute little nose rub. It really does look so sweet. All right, number 3, you guys, I cannot wear my hair down because I'm constantly touching it. I have a problem. It's like annoying me that it's down. So if you're watching the video and you're like, this girl cannot stop touching her hair, I know, I have a problem. I'm sorry. All right, number 3. So you can use this in a couple of different ways. So I'm kind of thinking about a family session, but this also lends itself nicely into a newborn session. So I like to ask, does mommy's hair smell like strawberries? Or you could ask maybe something silly even, like, does mommy's hair smell like farts? Like, honestly, whatever. But this one also works really nicely in newborn sessions. If you're trying to get a little bit of closeness between the toddler and the newborn, sometimes you can't always capture that kiss, or maybe the toddler is not really wanting to kiss the newborn. So you can ask them that question, or you can say, oh, you know what? Somebody told me that baby's hair smells like chocolate. Does it smell like chocolate? And just see what happens. Usually you're going to get that kiddo to go and sniff their hair, and it looks cute. It looks like they're kissing them on the head. It's beautiful. So I love that one. Number 4, we've got, this one's really beautiful, actually. I did this one in a session one time, and I swear, like, I almost started crying. It felt so emotional. So this one is for parents. I like to have the parents get really close to the kiddos for this one, usually crouching down and kind of hugging them, or maybe they're sat on their lap kind of facing in. That can look really beautiful for this one. So almost like they're forehead to forehead. But this is a really intimate and deeply connected moment where you're going to have the parent tell the kid something that they love about them. And it might kind of catch a parent off guard a little bit, but usually at this point in the session, I would not encourage you to do this right away at the beginning of your session, but usually at this point, your clients are so warmed up, they're used to all of your prompts, they're buying into everything you've been saying, and they're so ready for it because they're having an amazing time with their child. Like, I don't think any parent has ever had to think about it for more than a split second when I've asked it. So yeah, I love this question. I want you to be watching for the child's reaction, but honestly, with the closeness, you're going to be having both of them in the frame here. But yeah, you could witness something incredibly special with this question. So don't be afraid to ask the deeply emotional questions and prompts, because those will be memories that people want. All right. Okay, moving on. I think I mentioned this one before. This is kind of a great group question. I think before we talked about what's your favorite place to go with mom and dad? So this one, and I mentioned it before, but what's been your favorite family trip? So talking about a family vacation can really get kids kind of interactive. But I think it's also good to ask the follow-up question, why? Because you never know. Like there may be some really random reason that the kids loved it so much, or it could be something really sweet that they say. Maybe, because, I don't know, daddy took us for ice cream every day, or whatever it is. It's interesting to know why a child has really fond memories of a specific family trip. Okay, final prompt. And this one is not really encouraging any answers or anything like that. If you haven't already captured this, I just like this as a general direction for your families. This works beautifully with couples, but it also works really nicely with mom and kiddo or dad and kiddo. So just having them go forehead to forehead, and you can just say, I don't want you to say anything. You can just be still. So it's just really just an opportunity to let them just kind of sink into the moment. But I think oftentimes what does happen is parents will naturally take that opportunity to say something really sweet to their kiddos. So I quite often, without having to prompt, will hear the parents tell their kids that they love them. Yeah, it's just, I feel very emotional all of a sudden. It's really great. So I think what I'm saying here is that your prompts don't always have to be super specific. You don't always have to be asking questions. I think a lot of the time you can just direct them into something that will prompt additional actions, behaviors, connection. Okay. All right. So that was kind of quick fire. I feel like this episode is rapidly becoming longer than I intended. I am going to put together another episode that talks a little bit more or speaks to posing. It's going to include some prompts in there. But hopefully the way in which I've explained these prompts by also giving you the idea of what the setup was helpful today. I will just say we kind of talked about choosing the right moment so that your prompt lands properly. I think that's really key. You really do have to read your clients and the energy and the general vibe so that you're using an appropriate prompt at the right time. Otherwise, it's going to flop. But also, if something does flop, don't be afraid to come back to it just at a later time, okay? Or even just think about ways in which you can kind of maybe get that child to buy into whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So I had to do that a lot the other night. Like I said, I had a fantastic toddler that I was working with. His speech, his communication, his just general energy. He was an incredible little boy, so sweet, but just naturally has that toddler brain going on, which is very resistant. And yes, their favorite words are no, or word is no. So just kind of be prepared for that and be ready and be okay with having to pivot. So it was funny. In the questionnaire that I sent out, the mom said, he loves all things kind of boy-related, trains, airplanes, all that kind of stuff. I was like, great, I can do the airplane prompt with him. Let's have us all fly like airplanes. So I pulled that prompt out. I said, hey, do you want to fly like an airplane? Can we put our arms out nice and wide? And he just said no, which I was honestly, I wasn't completely surprised, but I was like, oh, okay, never mind. And I stuck with it a little bit longer just to see. And I said, hey, maybe what if I show you what it looks like first? What do you think? And he said, yeah. So I went, and obviously I'm embarrassing myself, but I don't care. Like, I'm there for this family. So I'm not embarrassed at this point. So there I am running around in circles, doing airplane arms, pretending to be an airplane. And I'm like, what do you think? Is it your turn now? Still a no. I said, okay, why don't we watch mom do it? So mom starts to do it. And then, of course, he wants to do what mom's doing. So he joined right in. So I think, yes, kind of read the room, take stock. Did this prompt just fall flat because it's not the right time? Or do I just need to be creative and think about other ways in which I can have this prompt actually work? Sometimes you need to move on and come back. Sometimes you just need to think about your delivery and how you're going to get a toddler to want to do whatever it is that you want them to do. So I don't know if there's any specific prompts that I've used that have not worked. I will just say that timing is everything. Sometimes they fall flat, and then you just need to find the right time to try it again. Yeah. I think if you are talking a lot, though, then probably it's time to move on. So yeah, if the family are not really invested and you're just talking, it's probably time to move on to something else, and just say that. It's okay. Just say, you know what, let's come back to this later. Why don't we do something else? The family won't care. And I think that's one of the things about family sessions, and it is something that I tell parents as well at the beginning of the session, is that we are very much going to be going with the flow today. So I don't necessarily have, like a list of prompts or poses that I'm going to work my way steadily through, because that is not going to work when you have a couple of kiddos in a session, a toddler in a session. You just need to try something and then see where that takes you, okay? Just constantly be looking at your family, look for the connection that's happening, look for the movement that's happening. I love it when my sessions run that way, because they feel super organic, they feel very natural. And I'm also less in my head about, I'm not getting this pose, or this prompt's not working. I feel like I can be in more of a flow state and be a lot more creative and think more about the angles, the light, the people, what connection am I capturing? It just allows me to be more creative. So I think that concludes pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. I already mentioned next episode, I am going to be talking about poses specifically, and I already have this episode pretty much mapped out. It's going to be 30 poses organized in a way that's going to, well, it makes sense for my brain. I hope it's going to make sense for your brains too. But yeah, so hopefully you will enjoy that, and the 2 episodes together will be really helpful for your next family session. But you guys, honestly, you just got to practice. You got to get out there, work with friends, work with families that you know and that you already feel comfortable with, so that you can get even better at delivering these prompts so that they feel really natural and you don't really even have to think about them. You're not looking at your phone, looking at a list. They just come naturally to you. All right, that's it for today. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.